Cool. Welcome all to another Instance Gateway meeting here. Just a reminder, this is being recorded and loaded up to YouTube, so behave accordingly, and we are following the CNCF Code of Conduct. Cool. So to jump right in, last week we kind of discussed, we tried to settle towards some rough naming. There are some, I think there's a little bit more conversation that needs to be had there. We're creating a doc internally to try to create some historical record of the naming. I'd love to get that shared very soon. It's still kind of in a rough state, though. Some of the thoughts are scattered. The general consensus is that potentially some of our names might be a little too broad, but I think Clayton may be able to articulate better. I think I saw him in the call if he's here.
Yeah, I'm here, and I'm trying to catch up without interrupting y'all too, because I'm being pulled in 10 different directions. So I just want to make sure that you can never spend too much time on naming. I realize it's blocking us from actually merging an API proposal, but naming is probably the most important thing. So yeah, I think calling the front end object having model in the name is really good. I want us to make a really clear description of that, like why and what the risks are. And then my other concern that I think we were having a little bit of internal chat and I was bouncing it around in my head was the front end object and the pool object. They need to be paired in some meaningful way. In the current API design approach, you're referencing from the front end object a pool, which allows us in the future to add other types of pools. We do not actually have the other direction reference. And there's some, that's an architectural choice, we'll put that in another part, but from a naming perspective, the thing that I'm debating, and I want to get to a point where we can talk about all the different options in a doc and just record it, would be if we will have other types of models and algorithmic approaches, is it better to have one front end that exposes a lot of different algorithms for a lot of different types of models and have different backends where the backend varies based on the algorithm, or vice versa? So that right now is what I'm just trying to get enough arguments in the doc. I'm gathering some feedback from folks that we've been talking to who want to balance other types of models, not LLMs. And I'm also trying to just think through a little bit of the queuing discussion, because the other potential consumers of Gen AI load balancing for inference gateway are effectively people who have an asymmetry of backend to where the algorithmic structure and architecture we're proposing would deliver some benefit. And it's either an asymmetry in use case, or an asymmetry in traffic, or an asymmetry in the cost of the request. There's another dimension to this that I was just trying to I was trying to get that scenario detailed that people have brought up as feedback is when requests come in, you're trying to maximize efficiency of the backends. That actually, that's one way to say what the gateway is trying to do, is trying to get as much workload onto a backend as possible. For very long generative use cases, the algorithm isn't really about balancing. It's about ensuring that workers are pulling from a queue as efficiently as possible. And you could actually look at the entire thing that we're doing for Inference Gateway as how do we efficiently fill available space with the next available item, whether we implement queuing on the front end, whether we have an actual queue, or whether queuing is on the back end, like it is today when you run a model server. So just trying to get all of that in my head so that I can write down, we can have an argument, and that would be, I think, the last detail that I can think of adding to the naming discussion is, does the backend algorithm depend on the pool on the front end? And that'll guide API design. So that's, because we would want to call it an LLM front end and then realize that LLM front end, LLM insert random word for whatever we call the front end, is actually we just keep adding fields to it, and we would be totally fine if we just had one. we can always go add a more specific backend pool because of the way the references work. So that's what's in my head right now. I'll try to get all that in the doc, and Kelly and I will work to get that shared as soon as possible.
Yes, agreed. Any input there from folks? Otherwise, if not to put anybody on the spot, but I had two people reach out to me about the POC, and apologies on the build failure. That was an oversight on my part, but I think some people got the POC working. I would love to hear feedback if they have any. If not, I'm specifically avoiding names to not put anybody on the spot because I did not prep them beforehand. Cool. No problem. So I think unless there's anything else, we can keep this brief. Yeah, really driving towards getting this naming concluded. I would love to get a simple alpha in people's hands as soon as possible, kind of move beyond the POC. So those are my goals. Gonna kind of leave it quiet, give people a chance to chime in. Cool. Thank you so much for all joining today. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.